But there is bitterness on the left, okay, because they weren't anticipating this, not with the press touting Kamala Harris as hard as it did. So the left is turning on each other, which is very interesting to watch. First sound by Nancy Pelosi blaming Biden. Go.
It was the anticipation was that if the president were to step aside, that there would be an open primary. And as I say, Kamala may have, I think she would have done well in that and been stronger going forward. But we don't know that. That didn't happen. We live with what happened. And because the president endorsed Kamala Harris immediately, that really made it almost impossible to have a primary at that time.
Well, I don't believe a word of it. You know, Nancy Pelosi is not a truth teller. I can document that 1,000 times. The Democratic establishment is split into the party apparatchiks, Nancy Pelosi, whatever the party wants to do, she'll do, and the far left zealots who run the Biden White House, who desperately wanted Kamala Harris because she's just further left than Biden. Okay, so there is a split, but nobody in the Democratic Party wanted a primary, a messy primary, because that would have brought disparagement to Biden and Harris because they did such a terrible job. Why would you want a primary with a guy, an independent Democrat or a conservative Democrat, whatever, blasting the current White House? No. So Pelosi's not telling the truth, which is her modus operandi. Then that's who she is. Now we go into the media precincts. MSNBC, an arm of NBC News, an arm of Comcast. Okay, it's ridiculous, absurd. Anybody watching that is a loon. I'm sorry. Now, if you watch it just to get a perspective on what the loons believe, okay. But if you're believing this stuff, you're a loon. Roll the tape.
Black voters came through for Kamala Harris. White women voters did not. That is what it appears happened in that state, is that if you can't flip enough white women, and we've talked about this on this set numerous times.
It's all about race for her. Everything's about race. Everything. Okay, if you go to the Met game, about race. Oh, the white guy struck out. I mean, come on. How boring is this? Third one. This was a situation where the head of the Democratic Finance Committee went on Fox and blamed the Obamas. Go.
Michelle and Barack Obama waited 3 days to endorse Kamala Harris. It was a silence heard around the world. And prior to Biden's endorsement that no one really anticipated, they were vetting people like Mark Kelly.
All right. So now it's Pelosi is blaming Biden. Joy Reid is blaming white women. And the finance director is blaming Michelle and Barack. Okay. This is really, I mean, come on. Now, I don't blame anybody because I know what happened. Most Americans are suffering because of Biden's incompetence. That's it. That's it. That's why Trump won in a landslide. Now, there is an ideological component, and I'll get to that. There is. The woke stuff and the DEI stuff, most Americans don't want that. But by far and away, it was they're paying more than 20% more for essentials of life than they did under Trump. And that's what did it. The problem with the Democratic Party is there's no leader. It's nobody. So Nancy Pelosi's 84 years old, just got reelected, but the woman is at the end of the trail. Senator Charles Schumer is deeply unpopular. There's nobody who likes him. All right. And Barack Obama took it right on the chin for putting his chin out, leading the Kamala Harris surrogate. All right. So there's nobody in charge. Thus, there's a civil war. When there is no one in charge, you'll have war. And the war is between the far left Democrats, Bernie Sanders, AOC, and the so-called moderate Democrats that aren't really moderate, but they're not as crazy as the socialists are. So Sanders, the independent senator from Vermont who was reelected, all right, takes the opening shot. Go.
So if you're an average worker out there, you're saying, hey, I'm working longer and longer hours, going nowhere in a hurry, worried about my kids, and yet the people on top have never had it so good. Where is the Democratic Party?
Well, Sanders wants a socialist/communist government to dictate outcomes. That's what he wants. He's always wanted it, never deviated. And the people of Vermont, I guess they're down with that. Okay, I don't know. I mean, this guy is really out there. Well, Nancy Pelosi doesn't like that the Democratic Party isn't helping the working people. Go.
Senator Bernie Sanders said it should come as no great surprise that a Democratic Party which has abandoned working class people would find that working class people have abandoned them.
Well, I just completely disagree. And in fact, might notice that Kamala Harris ran ahead of Bernie Sanders in Vermont.
Okay, a little of this, right? In the middle here are the left-wing media, and they're also getting killed, and I'll deal with that a little bit later. But they don't know what to do. The ardent liberals on television and in the newspapers, they don't know where do I go? Okay, and here's what one of these View ladies said. Go.
And if you've got nothing good to say, don't say anything at all. I mean, why, Nancy? Why? I find this so unproductive, so nasty, so unnecessary. It's like she wants to make sure that people know it wasn't her. She has no blame in this. I said Biden should have gotten out earlier.
So she's going after Pelosi. Okay? Now, that woman is about as nasty as they come. So for her to criticize somebody for being nasty, that's pretty interesting. All right, let's use that word. So who's going to win this civil war? Well, first of all, it's going to rage for a while. After Jimmy Carter got waxed in 1980 by Ronald Reagan, it took the Democrats 12 years to regain a White House, Bill Clinton. 12 years. And in that time, Reagan and Bush, the elder, had almost a free fire zone to do what they wanted to do. And then the economy fell off the cliff under Bush's first term, the no new taxes thing. And Clinton was a moderate Democrat, very moderate. And he got elected. But it took 12 years before the Democratic Party recovered from Jimmy Carter. Will that happen this time? It depends on Donald Trump and how he governs. Because if Vance and Trump do well in these 4 years coming, the Democratic Party is going to be in disarray for a while. Okay. So the civil war among the Democrats is raging. The only thing the far left has going for it is George Soros and the big money men like Michael Bloomberg, who's shocking. Michael Bloomberg ran New York City as mayor pretty conservatively. And now he's a far left kook, pumping billions of dollars into these woke causes. And of course, we all know about Soros and his son and all that. So the Bernie Sanders cadre has lots of money, but they don't have hearts and minds. And so that is a big casualty of the election of 2024, the decline of the Democrats. And that's a memo.